Hey guys, welcome to today's video. This is Martin from martinmixing.com, and today I have something slightly different for you because I just bought a brand new pair of headphones and I wanted to give you a little bit of an early impressions, review and comparison about these headphones against the other ones that I own. And the ones that I bought are the Austrian Audio Hi X60. These are brand new and I want to do a bit of comparison between these and all of these other ones that I own. Let's have a look. Okay, so very quickly, let's just talk about the build quality and all of this other stuff before we jump into the important sound-related things. These headphones seem really well built to me. They are definitely more plasticky, but I wouldn't hesitate to fold them up, put them into my backpack and go traveling or, go wherever I want to go. I don't think they will break, but I would also not want to have these on the head of some of the drummers that I know, because I know they probably wouldn't survive. So I think to wear them on an everyday basis, as long as you are somewhat careful with them, they should be okay. I don't feel like they will break. The action of the adjustment mechanism seems really quite smooth, and I'm not sure, to be honest. I think there's like a metal wire in here or some metal, but it's mostly I think it's plastic. All of this is plastic, but it's the good kind of plastic. Regarding comfort, it's not the first time I'm wearing them, by the way, but they are very comfortable. They do disappear after a while. They don't put a lot of pressure on your head. These ear cups, they're quite thin, so you do notice that they touch your head in a very small area, so you do feel them initially, but they're very soft and very comfortable. However, I have to say that nothing really beats the 770s or 880s, 990s or whatever you want. The Beyers are just simply much more comfortable. These are also much more sturdy. You can throw them around, and these have survived many drummers and other kind of crazy people. So yeah. One thing that I don't like about these, and that's probably just me being extremely paranoid, is that these memory foam pads essentially create somewhat of a vacuum seal around your ears, which means that anytime I even just gently touch or push these headphones, I can directly feel the air pressure on my eardrum. So if I push and pull, I can even feel how they push and pull on my eardrums. Now, that's probably just me being paranoid, but imagine if someone walks up to me in my room where I'm mixing with these and I don't hear anything, and they kind of jokingly tap on my headphones. That could potentially hurt a little bit. So I'm not a huge fan of that. They could have just put a small hole somewhere to eliminate this kind of vacuum seal-like effect around your head. Okay, so this about build quality, comfort. Overall, I'm very happy. I'm really happy that you can just twist and detach this cable. I think this is very good. I can take these off, fold them up, and I know that these will not kind of get loose or anything on the headphone. But how about sound? Let's do a really quick comparison between these and the other Beyers that I own. So comparing these to my 770s first, these are definitely much more detailed. They seem a bit more even, although they do have a slightly more pronounced upper mid-range and treble. The low end, although I find that the 770s have a lot more to deeper sub-bass, is tighter and more controlled and clearer on these, which is definitely very welcome. However, I think these have overall a little bit more bass, so these are a little bit more fun. These definitely have a small boost between like 500 and 2K, whereas these are quite linear and have more of a boost around the 3K and the even higher area. What I notice is that these do have a slight spike around 2.53 kilohertz, which I find slightly bit unpleasant, but these definitely out-resolve these by magnitudes. I was listening to music on these and I put these back on again and I just couldn't do it. Like, the detail was gone, everything was gone, everything like reverbs, echoes, all of that I was hearing on these suddenly disappeared on these completely. So, Hi X60s versus DT880s. Clear winner, Hi X60s. I mean, they do essentially the same as the 880s, but they do it better. So these basically have no bass or very little bass, but very controlled, very tight. These are also controlled and tight, but a bit more. So these are a bit more linear, a bit more well balanced compared to the 880s. And these are also better resolving, more detail, all of that stuff. But again, I do hear a bit of that 2.6-ish peak on these compared to these, whereas these have more of a 5 to 8K boost. Overall, these just want to sound really clear, but they're not, because these still out-resolve the 880s, in my opinion. And now the trickiest one, high X60s versus DT990s. This I found very, very interesting, because even though they're completely different, these are closed backs and they indeed isolate really, really well, and these are open backs, they actually sound very similar. So I think this is quite an achievement, because it's known that open back headphones usually sound better, they have better detail, better soundstage and all of that stuff. But these, I think, deliver all of that in spades and make these actually sound lower resolution in comparison. But I found that the DT990s have a little bit more low end and are a little bit more fun to listen to. And while the treble on these is more pronounced, again in the kind of typical Beyerdynamic 5 to 8K area, these definitely again have that 2.6K boost that I find somewhat unpleasant. So again, I was listening to these for quite a while and put these on, and the clear winner are these, because these just out-resolve the 990s, sorry, the 990s as well by magnitude. So whereas these might be originally a bit more fun to listen to, you know, you put them on without any other preference, without any other reference earlier, you put them on and these are quite fun to listen to. You definitely hear a lot of detail, but when you listen to these definitely have even more detail and resolution and less distortion, all of that, which leads to a wider soundstage and more depth. So overall, I'm really impressed, but after listening to some more of the songs that I really, really know well, I did find a few shortcomings. So let's just jump into describing my experience with some of the songs that I've listened to. So Alter Bridge, Slip to the Void, really, really well defined. The intro is well defined, the vocal is very clear, and the headphones brutally reveal a prominent whistle around 2.5K that I didn't hear as clearly before, and that's definitely because these boost at 2.53K area. And then once I switch back to my speakers, which are the Neumann KH310, so I do have a really good set of references here, okay? I did notice that whistle as well, but it wasn't quite as prominent as on these. When the full band hits, however, after the intro, I was not getting that feel of, okay, here we go, now we're up to something heavy. So I didn't quite get that sensation, probably because these lack a little bit of bass in comparison, especially compared to my KH310s and all of the other Beyerdynamic headphones, I would say. Then jumping to something a little bit older and something a bit warmer, Avril Lavigne's My Happy Ending. The guitars are great, the mix seems a lot warmer overall indeed, and this is something that I noticed, that these headphones will brutally reveal the details of the mixing and the mastering and the character of every individual production. So if you have a master that is quite harsh, like more of the modern rock stuff, it will sound very harsh. However, if you have something a bit older, like Avril Lavigne's My Happy Ending and also some earlier Smashing Pumpkins, which I'll talk about later, then they definitely will sound warm, but with a bit of added presence, I would say. Billy Talent, Dead Silence. This was a little bit of a letdown because the piano in the beginning seems a bit too tiny, even though it's filtered quite a lot in the mix, but here they're a bit too tiny, and the upper mid-range bump is very noticeable. Overall, I felt that these headphones are not as fun, especially with rock music. With rock music, I miss a lot of low mids and a lot of the kind of low-end energy that makes, you know, rock fun in the end. I mean, I know rock is about mid-range as well, but you have to have an even balance of lows, otherwise you just get like white noise, essentially. Again, I had the same sensation. The piano was good, the voice was lacking a little bit of body, which I did hear. I was missing that clear effect of the compression that I was hearing with other headphones and other speakers on the voice, kind of this 1176 snappy compression that got lost on these headphones, because it's more noticeable on the low mids, this compression, which is missing on these headphones, unfortunately. Blink-182, I Miss You, really, really warm sounding mix and master, very analog, very beautiful. I could hear a lot of the details, the snare and double bass sounded absolutely beautiful. The vocals are very, very clear, and I did get the sense of warmth and character of that recording on these headphones, but with a little bit of missing low end. So I think you can see that there's a bit of a pattern developing here. Foo Fighters Walk. I've listened to that record a million times. I know it inside out. I heard it at least through a million pairs of headphones and a million pairs of speakers as well. And I always find it's a little bit too harsh. The guitars are a bit too harsh. However, on these, and that really amazes me, it didn't come across as harsh, probably because Foo Fighters Walk has the harshness a little bit higher up, not at the like 2-3K range, but a little bit higher up. It has this API 5-7K bump, and these pronounce more the 2-3K range, so I was really surprised it wasn't that unpleasant. So once after the intro in Foo Fighters Walk, the bass and the drums kick in, it did, you know, it was okay, but I was missing a little bit of something, a bit more of the oomph. However, what I really heard brutally well here was how the volume dropped once the bass only kicks in, because it's pushing kind of the compression, so the level of the vocal and the guitar drops a little bit. So this revealed it really accurately, and that I think means that the dynamics of these are really amazing. They definitely do not compress, and they reveal small changes in volume really well. Green Day, Whatsername. This is track number 13 on the American Idiot album, and I think one of the best mixes on the whole record. The drums in the beginning definitely seem to miss a bit of low mids to me, so there's a bit of the oomph missing, but I was hearing things on the snare that I was not hearing before, so it's quite impressive really. The vocal, however, is extremely clear, but also a bit thin, so it's again missing a little bit of that low mids that I was used to from all of the other systems that I own or heard. And yes, indeed, when the full band kicks in, I usually get this, okay, now we went to another level kind of sensation, which is a little bit lost with these. So I think these are a bit too analytical and not quite fun. And I think it's just a slight voicing issue, to be honest. Now, jumping ship a little bit, Katy Perry Waking Up in Vegas sounds really good, but again, I miss a bit of lows and low mids. However, I did notice some deep sub kicks between the actual kick hits that I did not notice before. So that means that the subs, the lows are there on these headphones. They're just a little bit too quiet in my opinion. Linkin Park, Waiting for the End. Again, one of the best mixes I think that I heard. It's really love that record in its entirety as well. The guitars in the beginning are placed with pinpoint accuracy, and the delays on the piano are heard with immense clarity. However, I do miss the lows again, and I think these lows define this song to a large extent. So the kicks, the sustain on the kicks in Waiting for the End was a little bit missing on these headphones to me, and Chester's vocal is also missing a little bit of those low mids that really make them sound more intimate. So a little bit of the intimacy is gone, and I think everything that I listen to sounds a little bit distant because of this. You know, it sounds a bit far away, not very close, and you know, this might be a matter of preference, but I think if there's constantly always a bit of low mids missing, it might become a problem if you try to work with these headphones. Muse's Madness, I mean, we don't have to talk about the quality of that mix. The mix makes me wonder whether it's just the shortcomings of other mixes that make the headphones seem lacking in lower mids and lows, but as the song progresses, I don't get that familiar feeling that I had with my other systems, so indeed, even there, I do miss a little bit of the lows and low mids. But again, these headphones reveal the character of that mix and that song really extremely well. So the sub bass, those bass hits in the beginning were extremely well reproduced with a lot of detail, and indeed a very deep and very low reaching bass extension that none of the other ones were able to provide, to be honest, except for my KH310s, which are just brutally accurate. Yes, the lows on the synth in the beginning are quite impressive. I can hear every low note, However, Matt Bellamy's vocal again sounds a bit harsh and distant, and here I heard definitely the bump around 2.6K and the reduction in the low mids yet again. Let's move on. One OK Rocks, The Beginning, one of the quintessential rock songs, a benchmark in rock production as well, in my opinion. The vocal in that song, in that mix, usually stands out to me on every other system to being extremely warm and extremely full range, especially compared to a rock song where you usually filter a lot more of the lows out. However, on these headphones, that body was completely missing, almost completely missing, which was a big shame because it really defines that mix in my opinion. Once the band kicks in, I was surprised how much detail and clarity the cymbals have without being too harsh. So again, the upper treble is really nice. It's more the upper mids that are a little bit too much on these. So at this point, and I'm reading this off now, at this point I've been listening to music on these headphones for quite a while, and my ears were actually getting noticeably tired. And yes, indeed, because they do have this 2-3 kilohertz bump, and I'm quite sensitive to that range. These headphones are making me tired a bit faster than any of the other headphones that I own, and definitely much faster than my speakers, on which I can listen to music to and indeed work for 8 or 12 hours straight without real issues, to be honest. Let's check a few more songs just for interest. Smashing Pumpkins' Disarm. Very beautiful, very warm sounding mix, and these revealed that beauty and the warmth very beautifully, but these also added a bit of the boost again, which was actually quite pleasant on this overly warm sounding recording. So I did hear more details that were hidden to me before because these headphones boosted those details a little bit. And you know, this is a 30-year-old record almost, and it made it sound very beautiful, which I really appreciate. 21 Pilots Car Radio, one of my favorite mixes as well. The vocal again sounds distant, the lows are just missing. I missed some low-end detail on the instruments as well. However, transients, echoes and reverbs are extremely well produced. And here actually the drums come in with a lot of power and a lot of authority. However, I do miss again a little bit of the punch of the kick. Ah well. So in summary, I do feel a little bit conflicted. So after listening to these to a couple of hours, I actually went back to the DT990s. I put them on and I'm like, what is going on here? Okay, all the detail is missing, transients, clarity, kind of low-end clarity and definition between different low-range instruments. All of that was basically gone. So that means to me that these headphones are indeed outperforming all of the other ones that I have. But they do have this 2-3 kilohertz bump that really annoys me, and a little bit of missing low end that, you know, it's just a bit of a shame. And it's exactly this what also makes me wonder how I would mix on these headphones. So I'm quite sensitive to upper mids and treble, and my mixes tend to be a little bit heavy on the bass. Now these have a bit less bass and have a bit more of the upper mid-range. So I'm really wondering what would happen if I started mixing on these headphones now. I worry that my mixes would become overly scooped in the upper mids, kind of deliberately cutting out that 2-3 kilohertz detail and everything from voices and guitars. And I might just end up boosting the low end a bit too much, which is already a little bit of a problem. So I worry how my mixes will translate once I start working on these. Eventually, I just couldn't let go of the subject. I decided to put some songs into Logic, which is what you can maybe see on my screen now. And I decided, okay, let's just see what happens if I apply in a cue on the master bus. And what I did, I just applied a 1.6 decibel narrow cut at exactly 2.66 kilohertz, at 2666 hertz, and I applied a 0.8 decibel boost with a low shelf, okay, at 154 hertz. And that to me solved all of the problems that these headphones have. Now this is a pity, so am I going to keep these now but have an EQ on my master bus at all time? Or, you know, do I risk sending these back and buy something else which might have other strengths but then other weaknesses as well. So I'm really conflicted. I wish I could just walk into a shop and try, you know, a dozen of different headphones and walk out of the shop with the ones that I really like, but you know, with the current situation, it's just not possible for me to travel to Austria to a shop that actually has a meaningful selection of good headphones. So let's just see. I'm going to play with these a little bit more, and then in a couple weeks I'll post an update to this video and I'll let you know exactly whether I kept them or whether I will send them back and buy something completely different. Before starting this review, I burned these headphones in just so I don't get any false impression of their sound. What that meant is I put them onto my iPod with maximum volume, with Marilyn Manson's Pale Emperor on repeat. That mix and that production has plenty of bass and energy in every frequency range. I put them under cover, left them for overnight for about 8 to 10 hours, so I think these are definitely burned in now, and I indeed did do a little bit of A-Bing. I did put them on just fresh out of the box, and then in the morning when they were a bit, you know, when they played music for quite a significant time, and they do sound different. So a lot of the harshness that I originally heard was gone, fortunately. And also later on, all of the testing that I'm doing through my Apogee Duet, which I find has a really good headphone amp, so everything should be understood in the context of this particular combination. Okay, so I hope you found this video helpful. I'll have a follow-up to this topic in a couple of weeks. Let's see how I get on with this, and I'll be seeing you in the next video, and until then, happy mixing, take it easy, bye-bye.